who are you going to respond to? If one person says I'm offended and somebody else says, well, I was also offended when you did that, like whose offense do you pay the most attention to, right? It seems like we live in this big society where everybody's fucking offended about every goddamn thing, so nothing actually gets done because somebody's always offended. I personally think that we don't understand. Excuse my French. I'm trying not to cuss so much, but it's nighttime, so y'all told me I could cuss at night. I personally think that that we need to sort of think about what kind of rabbit hole we're digging ourselves into when anybody who raises their hand and says I'm offended can get you to like give up your rights to free speech. Because there are a lot of people that can be offended by a lot of things, and I also will tell you, I kind of really don't care a whole lot about what white people think about me or what they say about me. It doesn't really matter. What they think about me matters about as much as what I think about them. If I sit around and I say white people are this and this and this and this and this, there won't be an army of white people marching in front of my house saying you're oppressing us with your language and with your rhetoric. Your rhetoric is hate speech. They're not going to do that because they don't really care, right? So what I figured out is that at the end of the day, America is a country driven by power. It's driven by power. Powerful people don't have to care. And I think you can be empowered individually or collectively. It's sort of whether you choose to be empowered or you choose to sort of attain your so-called power, pseudo power, through this weird passive aggressiveness that says I'm a victim of every single thing everyone else is doing to me, and therefore I'm going to crush you because you've offended me and you're oppressing me so badly, so I'm going to oppress you just because you're oppressing me so bad. Like it's very weird. Like literally, I used to think I was a liberal when I was young. I really did. I wanted to vote for the Clintons and all of that because I thought that was the best option. N-word prompted several students to get up and walk out of class Thursday afternoon, the Daily Princetonian reported. According to several students, the walkout happened during a lecture for Anthropology 212, Cultural Freedoms, after Professor Lawrence Rosen reportedly asked the class, what's worse, a white man punching a black man or a white man calling a black man a nigger? The focus of that day's lecture was the topic of oppressive symbolism. He was describing what is acceptable as free speech and what is not, student Devin Holliday told the campus paper, adding that there were about 6 black students in the room when Rosen uttered the racial expletive. He didn't say it just once, however. Students said that the professor repeated the slur 2 or 3 more times. So he said, nigga, 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 throughout the lecture. See, I'm saying, look at me, I'm saying the N-word over and over again. He repeated the word 2 or 3 more times throughout his lecture and during discussions about his initial question. Quote, all the black students were looking at each other and as if asking whether he really said that or actually said that, sophomore Destiny Salter said. Things pretty much went downhill from there. Holliday told the Princetonian it was a white student who initially called out Rosen for his use of the word, saying, I am not comfortable with a white professor using the N-word. His rebuke was followed by that of another student, Malachi Bird, who asked Rosen if he was going to keep using the racial slur. Yes, if I think it's necessary, quote, end quote, the professor reportedly responded. Bird eventually left the lecture hall but returned to confront Rosen using an expletive of his own. So Bird left, came back, cussed him out. An unnamed source told the paper 3 other students also walked out of class. Rather than address the students' concerns, students said Rosen danced around the question and even defended the use of the word, saying it's supposed to deliver a gut punch, so that's why I used it. Quote, every single time he used the N-word, he used the word in its entirety, said Salter. He said, you need to suspend your disbelief for the sake of this class. Students said they spent the remainder of class arguing with Rosen because he refused to apologize. Holliday said what was most concerning to her was that Rosen, before changing the lecture's topic to pornographic images, gave students the option of whether they'd like to see them, but didn't extend the same courtesy before using the N-word. 2 students said they've since filed complaints with university officials, and they probably went to the Princetonian to get the article published. They probably went to the campus paper, and I'm sure they said, oh man, this is a juicy scoop, this is big, this is a story that we need to talk about, and so that's why they covered it. Okay, all right, so now tell me what you think about the professor's actions. Can the professor's actions be defended, or was he just kind of out of control? What is your thought on this? I'm gonna open up my phone so I can look and see what you guys are saying. And those of you who don't have anything to say, just hit the heart button and the like button, or the subscribe button, and the thumbs up button, so that I can so that Facebook can know that we're here. All right, so let's see here. Selena says HBCUs are always open. Michelle is from Middletown, Ohio. Justin says, wouldn't happen if we had our own schools. Naima says, good night, everyone. How you doing, Naima? Let's see here. Gene said he showed his true colors. Jacob Jennings says, does he use it as shock value? Does he use it to make a point for the educational purpose of his class? Good question. Tania says, absolutely not. Regina says he was showing his true colors. Let's see here. Reginald Smith, 1973, says he should lose his job because of doing it. Called him, if someone called him a white honky, they would have gotten expelled. Okay. Someone else says, I can't read your Instagram name. It's like one of those crazy Instagram names. It says he could have used the N-word phrase to make his point. Okay. Somebody says true colors. I'm seeing a lot of true colors. Vernetta says out of control and racist. Natasha, totally wrong. Grace Gibson, wrong. Eric Jones, professors are supposed to deliver gut punches, but he could have apologized to move along with the lecture. All right. Okay, well, I'm not going to give an opinion on that just yet until we go a little deeper. Now, it got, interesting. Of course, Princeton, I assume, was nervous about the fallout, and they want to make sure they communicated their point. Now, to his rescue, to Professor Rosen's rescue, came the department chair, Carolyn Rouse. Now, Carolyn Rouse, who is the chair of the Department of Anthropology, also happens to be black. So I'm sure that fact was not missed by Princeton University officials when they allowed or asked her to write this letter. They probably felt like, oh my God, we're a little nervous. We're nervous white people right now. If we get a black person to co-sign, then we're going to be good. Okay. It's a strategy, right? So let me tell you what Professor Rouse wrote about this. She wrote a letter to the editor. The letter was published. Oh, wow, wait. What? Hold on, let me see when this. The Princetonian's article appeared February 7th. The letter to the editor appeared February 8th. So they jump right on this. Like, they move quick. They move super quick. Those of you who are watching from social media, if you want to see the professor who wrote the letter in his defense, now don't judge her just yet. Let's just see what she has to say. But here she is right here. Carolyn Rouse, chair of the anthropology department, et cetera, et cetera. All right, she's brilliant. I looked at her bio. I looked at all their bios because, academia is where I used to live. And I'm going to hold the phone up so you guys can kind of see that she's a sister, very pretty black woman, brilliant, accomplished, all these other things. Is she just being a scholar and being helpful to the issue, or is she caping for a white man? It'll be up to you to decide this. I'm going to read what she wrote and let you judge for yourselves. So here's what she says. She says, I write to provide important context to the events reported on February 7th in the Daily Princetonian story. Students walk out of anthropology lecture after professor uses the word nigger. The students signed up for a course about hate speech, blasphemy, and pornography. So Tuesday's class introduced them to the topics of the course. Like every semester at Princeton, like every semester at Princeton or Columbia Law, Professor Lawrence Rosen, because he has a law degree too, he teaches at Columbia Law School. Professor Lawrence Rosen started the class by breaking a number of taboos in order to get the students to recognize their emotional response to cultural symbols. By the end of the semester, Rosen hopes that his students will be able to argue why hate speech should or should not be protected using an argument other than, quote, because it made me feel bad, end quote. Interesting. So she's saying that basically he's trying to get the students to sort of question how we define hate speech. How do you decide whether it's okay for the Migos to call a black woman a nigger bitch versus to hear a white guy use the N-word for shock value to talk about hate speech and the parameters of hate speech? Who knows? I don't know. I know that a lot of the people who would be offended by this guy using the N-word for educational purposes would actually be dancing to the beat if your favorite rapper is calling black people niggas, right? So that kind of makes us look a little bit weird, right? It's not that we don't understand it. It's not that you can't possibly kind of justify it, but it is kind of this weird thing that makes us look a little bit crazy, a little bit stupid, and a little bit hypocritical. Now, just to give you context on that, I'm going to tell you though at the same time, I think a lot of us that are fighting for justice in this world end up looking crazy and hypocritical. I think sometimes feminism looks a little crazy and hypocritical when you, on one hand, you're assuming men and women are equally capable of doing whatever they want, but then if a man and a woman both have sex and both of them are drunk, somehow the woman's not responsible for what she did that night, but the man's fully responsible for everything he did, even though they were both pissy drunk. So that doesn't make sense to me. That's weird. That's hypocritical. That's backwards. That's fucking retarded, to be honest with you. But anyway, let me get back to it. Let me not stray too much. I'm just sort of talking about this whole environment of political correctness and kind of how people don't really think about their positions fully when they take them. They just kind of go along with the trend. So let's keep reading. So she says, importantly, why did Rosen's example of a student wiping her feet on the American flag not elicit any anger, while the use of the N-word did? In a different setting, a different university, for example, the student response might have been the reverse. A student wiping his or her feet on the American flag might have caused a riot. So whose feelings should the law protect? So whose feelings should be protected? Who are you going to respond to? If one person says, I'm offended, and somebody else says, well, I was also offended when you did that, like whose offense do you pay the most attention